Tuning.
So, first and foremost, you may have noticed, the seasoned experts at home may have noticed that the guitar was playing uncapoed in C formation in the key of C. And the fiddle was playing basically in D formation. And that's because standard fiddle tuning is E, A, D, G, from highest to lowest. This fiddle is tuned, here, I have a handy reminder because it's such an insane, wonderful tuning. And I put this on the case of the fiddle so I don't accidentally pick it up thinking it's in standard tuning. So this is Mule Team tuning. Welcome everyone to this special tuning for this special tune. So highest to lowest, it's D, G, C, G. So D, G, C, G. Now, you don't have to go to this tuning. This is basically D tuning. It's if you take standard tuning, E, A, D, and then take the G string up to A. That's the standard high bass tuning for the key of D. This is that same thing taken down a full step. So it's D tuning in the key of C for the fiddle. So that's the first step to achieving the true Mule Team sound is this crazy tuning.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. And it works in D too, but this is what we're going to be showing today. So.
It's a special sauce.
Yeah.
Shall we start by breaking down the A part?
Sounds good. Breaking down the A part. I'll probably just play it all the way through slowly and then come back to any difficult parts. So, okay. So here's the whole A part slowed down so you can see what's happening. You notice at the very end there's a bridge into the B part. The first time through it ends with that closed phrase and repeats, and then the second time so it's the second time through the A part it has that bridge down into the B part. Now that you've got the gist of it, I'll play it just a couple clicks faster. So at sort of a medium pace, so you can all play along at some point on the Zoom playback.
Do you have any specific notes on the A part?
I think the phrasing on at the phrase ending. So it's kind of a little bit of a syncopated, and if you try to bow every note, it'll be too much. So down, 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 up, up, down. And that gives it the really kind of ragtimey, syncopated feel. And then also, maybe at the top of the tune, I'm droning pretty hard on the top two strings together, so the melody is which is fine, but it really what we're working towards is playing both strings at the same time. The whole time you're hitting those notes, because that has a really nice full sound. Drone.
And the bowing on the beginning of the A is pretty key as well, right?
So it like a lot of great old time tunes, the first note comes before the downbeat. It anticipates and it comes in early, and you do want to not not too much, but slide your finger into position just to give it an oomph sound, not an actual slide or two different notes or anything like that. It's just your two things. It's functional because it helps you find your intonation when you're, so there's like a really practical reason, but also the sound and the effect of sliding your finger into position gives it more emphasis to really like kick off the first note of the tune. So I'll give you a anti-example, like. So I'm doing two things. I'm not anticipating the beat and I'm not sliding my finger. And that's what that would sound like. So there's actually two things. You're lifting up and replacing and sliding your finger. So that's a really important distinction I want to make is I'm not sliding from the finger back and forth. It's sliding from an open string. So the pickup is, so you play the open string first, and then hammer your finger on and slide it into position. So, and it's very small, very compact. It's not a lot of, there's not a lot of space between the open string and the first finger, but it needs to be there. If you start with your finger already placed, it has a totally different sound and kind of rings false. So instead of, you really want to hit that open string before you place your first finger.
Yeah, and the particular places where you are shuffling and where you're not shuffling are also important here.
Yeah.
Very key.
Yeah. So there are specific kind of slurring notes together on one bow stroke in a set pattern. So a shuffle bow is just. That comes and goes. That's peppered throughout the tune as kind of a connector to other more unique bowings, I would say. So, slur, slur, slur. Slur, slur, slur. Shuffle, shuffle. So it's like you're toggling back and forth between slurring notes on like 2 or 3 notes on the left hand on the same bow stroke, and then back to shuffle to kind of connect those bowing patterns. So one of the slurring bow patterns that defines the very first phrase the very first line that you hear is, so I've made a big deal about the first note and the finger sliding in, but another really important thing is the fourth finger, the moving between the third and the fourth finger. Down, up, down. And there's like a down, up, pulse. Like there's like a pulse that happens that allows you to keep the up bow for a really long time. So you're kind of like punch card, like da 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 da. So if you want to just try that, is a really good set piece that the tune absolutely requires.
That's great. Do you want to break down the B part now?
Sure. I want to preempt that by saying the B part has some very Garry Harrison bowing techniques and patterns. Something that he affectionately referred to as the back bow, which I will endeavor to explain. First, let me play through the whole B part slowly so you can hear and see what's going on, and then I'll point out where it is. So we your ears should have caught. So that's a nice, always like a friendly face in the crowd when the B part, the second part of a tune, repeats something from the A part, because you just get to like plug it back in and use it again, which is great. Okay, so they have the same phrase ending is what I'm trying to say. Okay. All right.
So you mentioned a very signature Garry Harrison bowing. That's part of this B part, right?
Yes. It's affectionately in our family called the back bow, which is not a technical term. It's just a set bowing pattern wherein, shuffle bow is like long, short, short, long, short, short, long, short, short. It's a very specific bowing pattern, and this breaks that instead of it breaks the melody of a tune into couplets, so it slurs 2 notes at a time on each bow stroke. So it really has the ability to give a specific sound and like have a tune have a really different kind of logic and rhythm to it. I'll start off first, even before the back bow. The very first notes. This is like, if you think of the word like honk honk, like this is like it's have your first finger down and you're toggling back and forth between the first and second finger. It's not. It has a completely different sound and feel when you remove the first finger and just slide the finger back and forth. For whatever reason, it really does sound. So I'll play it. Here. So it's a really fast, like trill almost, or toggling back and forth between the first and second finger, not. That just has a completely different sound and feel to me. Mm-hmm. And so it's really important to have both fingers. So if everybody wants to try that. And again, I'm droning between the middle 2 strings the whole time, but the melody is just. Then after that phrase, we move on to the back bow, which is so. Down, down, up, down. So you're putting 2 notes on each 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'll play it a little faster. And it just, it's tempting to, like, shuffle bow is so much more comfortable and so much more just kind of, for whatever reason, ingrained into, you know, like beginning old time fiddle and things like that. And even my dad acknowledged, like, the back bow feels awkward. Like, it feels really, really awkward. But at first, and then admittedly, it's taken me years to cultivate it in a way that, you know, feels natural, can play up to speed, but then the end result really sounds unique. So that's one of the reasons I'm taking this long to talk about it. So I'll play it one more time. And then the same ending as the A.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the keys to unlocking like a very Garry Harrison style of playing for sure. Shall we dig into some of the variations and the tag at the end?
So I'll play no variation A part through once, just so you can hear it, and then I will break down variations. So. So there are two specific distinct variations, and here they go. Variations. Here we go. Here. Same. Variation 2. And then. So they come really early in the A phrases. So variation number 1 is. And then instead of, in place of, you play. So open A or G, whatever. And then again another pull, like up bow pulse at the end. And then instead of, so it kind of changes the following phrase after. So instead of, you don't play the, when it follows the variation, it turns into this. So it changes the rhythm significantly of the, once you start the variation, it changes the whole rest of the phrase. So I'll play the whole variation again slowly. And then the phrase continues as it would normally. Here's variation number 2. And again, once you start the variation, it kind of displaces and changes the rest of the phrase. Okay, so variation 2. So it's kind of the same phrase ending as the other variation, but it's a notier version of the first half, so. So I'll play variation number 2 from the top of the A part again. And then the phrase and the A part ends as it would. I think it's interesting because it kind of is borrowing from it. It's like interchanging Lego pieces from other parts in the tune, so that it really tricks your ear into what part are we on? Wait, this variation is just another part from a different like segment of the tune. So one more time, variation 2, because it's a little notier than variation 1. So from the top.
And then is that it for variations for the tune?
For the A part, those are the 2 significant variations. And they can just be peppered in as needed, though they are like a spice, so not like every time. It gets a bit much, but so they're just to be thrown in as accents to the structural tune. Then there is in the B part, there's one variation that always is played on the very last time through the B. So it's kind of a signal for everybody listening that you're ending the tune. So let me play the B part through. So that's the very end couple of phrases is the tagline / variation in the B part. So I'll play it a little bit slower. Yes, you heard that right. It sounds a little crazy, but so the variation / tag at the end is you so play after. So now that you've got all the variations, I'll play the whole tune once through at a medium pace so you can see how they fit in.
And that's it.
And that's all she wrote.
What about the low drone? When and how should you work that one in there?
On the B part is the most obvious place, and the place where it sounds great on the back bow. Essentially the back bow section that I talked about. So that sounds great, but it's a lot to It's a lot to handle with successfully executing the back bow and keeping that note steady, or just picking out notes where you want it to accent. So. Yeah, that's a great choice to kind of, especially if you're playing for a dance or something. Alternatively, I think what I mostly demoed was the middle two strings droning together. You've got an octave, so you've got one on either side, and you can definitely pick or toggle between droning with the top or the bottom string.